All right, we're starting off Viewpoint with some breaking news. The MEA has now confirmed that they have taken up via diplomatic channels the issue of fugitive Zakir Naik attending the FIFA World Cup. Remember, Zakir Naik, the controversial Islamist preacher, is wanted here in India for multiple cases and also in Bangladesh. He was at the opening ceremony of the FIFA World Cup this Sunday. The MEA has now confirmed that they have diplomatic channels with the government of Qatar. My colleagues details. What did the MEA spokesperson say? And most importantly, what has been Qatar's response to the MEA? The Indian government raised this officially with them.
Well, Zakir has come up that the night in under the flag of FIFA, there was a demand, in fact, on social media. In fact, various people in India have been demanding India to flag off this issue with Qatar. And in fact, this is also the first time that confirmation has come from Ministry of External Affairs while addressing a press conference. The MEA spokesperson has confirmed that this issue has been raised with Qatar through diplomatic channels. Also, it is important to remember then as President's school visit to Qatar, so and Indian government acted on that. So this is the time, to return the favor on Zakir Naik, and now we have that India has this issue with Qatar through a diplomatic channel. Let's see how Qatar reacts to this demand of government of India.
All right, Siddhant, thanks very much for that. Let's also play out the soundbite of Arun, the spokesperson, who confirmed that the government of India through diplomatic channels has raised to attend the opening of the World Cup with authorities. Let's just play that out.
On Zakir Naik, on the issue of the 8 Indian veterans, who are there, that has been raised with Qatar, but I didn't say by the Vice President.
All right, this issue has been taken up by the Indian authorities. Now, it's off between the government and the judiciary over the appointment of the election from saying that the CEC on the committee appointing election commissioners to now asking for the file of the latest election commissioner, Mr. Arun Goel, to be sent to it. The Supreme Court seems to be overreaching its brief. After all, will the court allow the executive to be part of the judges? In this case, the Supreme Court constitutional body is waiting on another constitutional body, which is the Election Commission of India. And if judges have a problem with the executive, members of the executive being part of a commission or a committee that will have a say in the appointment of judges, then why should a judge be a part of the committee that has a say on the appointment of election commissioners? All of that and more in just a moment, but first, the story.
The impartiality of the CEC is paramount for ensuring that elections.
सुनवाई कर रही है उस दौरान ही इलेक्शन कमिश्नर का अपॉइंटमेंट हुआ है।
All that is now make it fair.
All right, let's get into the debate. Let's bring in Subhash Jha, advocate. Major General Anil Verma, retired as head of ADR. Ashpreet Singh Kadyal of the Congress Party is joining us. Mohammad Amin is former joint director in the Election Commission of India. Let me start with Subhash Jha. The question being asked, Mr. Jha, is why should the judiciary and why should the Supreme Court, as a constitutional office, why should it be constitutional office, the Election Commission of India? The Supreme Court made residence, but one constitutional body in the amendments of a constitutional body. How does that hold merit?
You're absolutely absolutely right. We have three organs of democracy. Judiciary, one of them, the other two are judiciary executive. And all three of them are independent to each other, and they should never try to overreach one another unless until it is so warranted. Now, but what is happening in this case, we have, and in the recent past, that judiciary has been always trying to overreach the process of the government. Now, take for example, now three decisions, three places or three matters in which the Supreme Court always tries to interfere with. Rafale was one of them. Then how to handle the situation during the is ultimately for government to decide. We have seen country in all over the states, every high court would decide and issue direction and try to run the government as if they are the part of the government. Running the government is not for the courts to decide. Ultimately, it is for the government in power in the state or in the center. So the Supreme Court has also been passing order. The high courts have also been passing order. And the Supreme Court never said that, okay, doesn't matter. We are the one, ultimately, when the matter is seized off with us, we are the one who will be deciding. No high court shall interfere. But we have seen that in pandemic, all the high courts will decide. And at the same time, the Supreme Court will also issue directions from time to time.
You know, the irony here, let me ask Major General Anil Verma, the irony here is there's been this running feud between the Supreme Court and the government on the appointment of judges, and clearly the judges want, quote unquote, their turf protected. They want no involvement of the executive or any other body to have a say on the appointment of judges. Why then shouldn't you extend that same argument to a fellow constitutional body like the Election Commission? Why should judges have a say in the appointment of election commissioners?
Zaka, we are focusing only on the role of the judges in the appointment, this thing. But I want to bring you back to the basic points we had put up in the PIL of ADR. And in that, we had quoted Article 324 of the Constitution of India. Section 2, the election of the and such election as the president may from time to time fix, and the appointment of the chief election commissioner and other election commissioners shall, please note, subject to the provisions of any law made in that behalf by the parliament, be made by the president. Now, presently, the appointment of the chief election commissioner and the election commissioner is done solely by the executive. 70 years have passed, this law has been made. This was written in the constitution after one Professor Saxena raised objection to Baba Bhimrao Ambedkar, and then he wrote this. So why this law has not been made?
No, but Major General, just a quick clarification on that. For 70 years, we've had election commissioners being appointed by the executive, right? In fact, most appointments in this country happen by the executive, and these appointments, as I understand, the job of the Supreme Court is to look into decisions and whether decisions are actually unconstitutional. I mean, it's a constitutional court at the end of the day. If it's unconstitutional, the job of the court is to act as a check and balance and to strike that down. In routine appointments, what can be unconstitutional? Unless, of course, the challenge is there were other qualified candidates or seniority was bypassed or whatever. There could be other criteria. But in this case, what is unconstitutional about a routine appointment? I mean, why is the court getting involved in this?
Zaka, all the various committees which have been, including the Law Commission, the Dinesh Goswami Commission, all of them have recommended the same thing, that the election commissioner's selection should be by a body which comprises of the Prime Minister, the opposition, the Supreme Court. All along this has been. Now, if I have to tell you, after Zaidi, Dr. Zaidi demitted office, he's the only one who had 4 years something of a tenure. All the others have had 3 years and lesser. Now, we are saying that there has to be continuity. The appointment of, that is what was said today. So, why are we having such quick turnovers? And especially in the case of the latest appointment, when the matter is sub judice, the thing is being in the court, and 24 hours person all the paperwork is done, and that over a weekend.
Okay, so let
So
me
is that
ask
a
Mohammed
process
Amin,
to be
as former
emulated?
Joint Director in the Election Commission of India, in this specific instance, and I know the matter is sub judice, but what the court is trying to understand is, while the court was hearing a bunch of petitions on the appointment of election commissioners, there was a senior bureaucrat, I think it was a secretary level officer, and the next day he is appointed as election commissioner. So the court is asking, where is your due diligence?
Actually, there is like other agencies are and their executives are heads are deputed by the opposition party and the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice of India. But in this election commission, what was the routine last 70 years, what you telling me, and everybody knows that there was till date no law is there, and the same procedure has adopted by the earlier governments and this government. There is no change, and you see the file of the Mr. Goel, there is no problem in any qualification or any knowledge or any subject of the commission.
So what was the hurry? I mean, what was the hurry?
There?
What was the hurry?
You see, this election is going on, and further we have the other elections. So we have the election commissioner.
No, but
yes.
Mr. Amin, the current chief election commissioner does not retire, as I understand, at least a couple of years. The body is running out. The hurry that the secretary level officer retires on one day, and the very next day his appointment as election commissioner is given. I mean, surely, government appointments don't happen that quickly.
That government has their own power, so
Yes.
that's why they did it. Like H.S. Brahma case, I am telling you, like H.S. Brahma case, he was discharged just for the 2 months only in the chief election commissioner, and before that he was the commissioner. So it's a government to decide. All the other agencies also, they don't have their heads, but election commission needed now.
Okay,
Agency,
so
that's why they are
Ashpreet
deported
Kadyal,
now.
again I come back
We
to
need the
the same point.
Commission is three.
What Subhash Jha and others are raising is
Yeah.
the court, one constitutional body commenting on the other constitutional body. I don't know how appropriate that is. And more importantly, Ashpreet Kadyal, the larger question is, if the judges are so reluctant to allow any other member, executive or any other member, to have a say in the appointment of judges, then why should they have a say in the appointment of election commissioners?
One, this is not just any other constitutional body that we are talking about. We are talking about the apex court, the guardian of the constitution. And the Honorable Supreme Court has held that the successive governments have damaged the independence of the election commission of India. And it was the party that always asserted that the Supreme Court. We need to change the lens with which we are viewing this, especially the Bharatiya Janata Party. They say that it is one constitutional body interfering in another constitutional body. No, it is the job of the Supreme Court to ensure that there is independence in the functioning of all the institutions of India. It is the job of the Honorable Supreme Court. It is their duty, and they will do that. And number two, this major evolution of India, that its independence was damaged because election commission of India decides the time of election, the place of election, where a election is to happen, a re-election is to happen. Therefore, throws into question all the elections have happened.
Hang on. What position independence?
That is for the Supreme Court, but for people like us who live by the Constitution, we are to abide by it. The Honorable Supreme Court. And number two, I want to ask this one question. Do not know this question. Under the section of Service of Election Commission Act 1991, it says that the tenure has to be of 60 or before the person becomes 65. As Bharatiya Janata Party been violating the provision, and if the Supreme Court says something about this, you have a problem with that. Now, Bharatiya Janata Party should stop blowing hot and cold at the same time.
Okay.
They said we should not question the Supreme Court. Now they should stop questioning the Supreme Court.
Subhash, respond to that. There is a provision of law which says that as far as is possible, the appointment of election commissioners should be for a tenure of 6 years, or they span 6 years of age. I don't think any of these years in office.
There is a constitutional mandate under Article 124A and 124C with regard to NJAC, National Judicial Accountability Commission. Now, what happened to that? Appointment Commission. What happened to that? NJAC was brought to the Constitution on 13th of April 2015. And
it was struck down by the court.
Yes, it was struck down the lightning speed. Within 6 months, it was struck down. And within the next 4 months, even the review petition was dismissed. So look at this lightning speed. And what was the arrangement under that? The Chief Justice, 1 and 2, the senior most judges, Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition were to be in the process of appointing the judges of the High Court. Now, that was struck down on the ground that it is unconstitutional. So you have primacy. The Act gave primacy ultimately to the Supreme Court, that Chief Justice, more most judges of the Supreme Court, who should be appointed. Is it not an irony?
Let me over the last 8 years, I don't think any instance has come to the public domain which shows compromise in the election process. Had that been the case, then surely it would have been challenged in court. Supreme Court had say about it. The fact is that there is opposition parties or certain people who are part of the ecosystem of opposition parties. They are feeling left out because they are not able to defeat the BJP electorally. Otherwise, why should this even become a talking point? Because this is just a routine appointment of an election commissioner. Surely, an election commissioner can't have influence over, let's say in this case, Gujarat that's going to polls. People. Sure, one
Zaka, I think it is comparing apples and oranges. You can't link the appointment of election commissioners to the winning or losing of election by a particular party. It is not at all the case. The elections have been conducted in a good manner by the election commissioner. It is not only accepted but international. Conducting a huge with voters, 80 crores or something. The issue is that the election commission of India should be seen as an independent. I mean, if you see the recommendations of the election commission itself, have been sent to law commission. My fault to the Ministry of Law and Justice. There are so many recommendations just been ignored. They have certain protection the election commission for tenure thing. They have just been ignored. Now the question comes when the campaign is on and the model code of conduct is in vogue, and at that time when certain important people do certain things, those are not. I would say they are sort of overlooked by the Election Commission of India. Whereas when the other parties do something, they are wrapped on the back. So this type of aberrations should not be there.
No, what I want to know from General is specific either illegal practice or malpractices by political parties, ruling party in this case, which the Election Commission has not acted upon in the last 4, 5, 6 years. Any specific instance that you can?
See, 4, 5, 6 years, I won't go, but I can give you a recent example now that when the model code of conduct is in vogue, the electoral scheme has been amended.
Okay.
Again, that the government is empowered to do whatever it feels like. But the manner in which this amendment has been done, 15 days additional just before the elections and general elections, it will be done. It has also been objected to by.
Changing or bringing amendment for the change electoral policy, that too the model
and the electoral bond case is also
is
process.
Yes.
And before the election, the Model Code of Conduct discusses all parties, head leaders, and then commission has to decide these things. And this is a different, that is the policy of the election commission regarding the fixtures and bonds. I appreciate India abroad. We are doing conduct elections. We are also appreciated nationally. Not in India. We are doing the other things, even training and their elections we are going to monitor. And
no one is questioning the conduct of elections. Mr.
Yes.
Amin, no one is questioning the conduct of elections. This is what I asked gentlemen also. Can you bring instances where you feel the larger question the Supreme Court is asking is about independence of election commission.
Listen, till date, there is no as such rule for the appointment, how to appoint. So they have adopted their own, like 17 years. The same is adopted right now, and as per urgency of the elections, we have the more elections now. So there was a one vacancy. There is no problem. So this is a routine process.
We have Minister speak openly about judicial appointments and how the executive also should have a role there. Is this the Supreme Court's way of giving it back to the executive, or at least seemingly so?
Not at all. 100% not. In fact, may I please see, if you pick up the history, you'll see that the central government and the Supreme Court, they have always had a bit of a concern, always brewing. So this is not the issue. The issue is that the Supreme Court, being the guardian of the Constitution, has to ensure independence of all the institutions. It is doing its job. It is doing its duty. The BJP needs to decide, because...
So, Ashwin, I'm asking this to you, everybody, please give an instance. Please give an instance where you believe the independence of the election commission was compromised. Or the electoral process was compromised.
Now, let this come up in the Supreme Court. It is just for the Supreme Court to decide, not for people like us to decide. And number two, whenever the Supreme Court intervenes and it suits the Bharatiya Janata Party, then it appreciates...
No, you made that point. I'm asking you. You are a spokesperson of the leading opposition party in this country, right? I'm asking you. Please give me one instance where you believe the electoral process was compromised in the many elections that have happened in the last 8 years.
Now answer your question. Can you or can I decide that opposition party not this first place? It's for the Supreme Court.
Sir, I'm not asking you to decide on independence or otherwise. I'm asking you, please show me one anomaly that the Congress party has seen in the electoral process.
Now, please see, there's a procedure that is established. We are not above procedure. Even for an investigation, it is the police that does it. When it comes to issues like this, it is for the Supreme Court. We cannot do that. That's wrong in itself. Number two,
look, from whatever I have followed, one second. From whatever I have followed, there have been instances of vote intimidation or violence, which has been give me 10 seconds, which has been routinely flagged to the violence. Political parties from to petition the election commission about this. Now, my point is, my point is, does that warrant such a big charge in the process itself? The electoral process is being compromised in it.
Now here's
the answer.
Here's the answer. In 7 years, chief election commissioners have, there is a provision that ensures at least a 6 years tenure or before 65.
No, nobody has been removed from office. Hang on. Nobody for different reasons. No other election. Please have you made wrong. I actually in statement to my viewers because no election commissioner has been removed from office. other than Mr. Lavasa's case, which of course I'm not getting into, it's a
Now
separate
here
matter.
it is.
No election commissioner has been removed from office.
Mr. Lavasa has got the foreign assignment and he has himself.
Anyway.
Commission has to be stable.
I want to wrap up. Thank you very much, Ashpreet. All I say, closing comment is very simply this: that in this case, it's my humble view that the Honorable Supreme Court is overreaching its brief. It could have question marks over the process or the appointment of one individual election commissioner. Say are in constitutionality point. You can go into the constitutionality of a law, whether it holds up to the Constitution or not. In the appointment of an individual, unless of course it's challenged by who's to challenge that. But in this case, over an appointment to move a constitutional court and for the court to weigh in, questioning the independence of the process, I think it's overreach. We'll leave it at that. The entry of women in the Jama was revoked with the request that visitors respect and maintain the sanctity of the mosque. Make more
so many women proud Delhi Commission women also spoke up, and this is completely unfair because why should deny ground that accept Imam and has requested this order must be told has been and the sentiments all be respected.
All right. The will be drawn.
What office categorically is that he has been told that the order has been revoked. However, the only condition which and the request which has come in from the Shahi Imam is that the sanctity of the mosque must be respected.
All right, Ghosh, we'll leave it at that. This was, of course, a controversy after the notification. You can see that that women, if they are alone and not accompanied by a male friend or member, will not be allowed into the masjid. Now, there, after speaking to the LG of DC, they are ready to revoke this order. We'll leave it at that. Much moment joining you.